my position connects students to resources, and then we also do have through our dorms the ability to house students for up to 7 days while we work with them to get them connected to other resources as well. So it kind of, but not fully. We need to do more.
Gotcha.
That's my answer.
That's helpful. I was just curious.
Yeah, we really need to do a lot more.
That's right.
Okay, great. So, since you mentioned, we have one panelist for our poverty reduction area. This is Alicia, and she works a lot around affordable housing opportunities. So we'll kind of have questions that are very similar to the earlier panel, and then we'll open up to Q&A or have a broader conversation about some other perspectives around poverty reduction, and we'll have breakouts that include conversations around employment and education, economic development more generally, and housing will be a component of that as well. So before we dive into the questions again, Alicia, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit, maybe a couple minutes about what your work is and what you do?
Yeah, sure. So Alicia, Sebastian, I'm with the California Coalition for Rural Housing. First of all, let's not call me a panelist. I'm just here having a conversation. No one else up with me, and this is a very casual kind of thing. So first of all, what I used to do in the past, so I am a recent houser. That's what we call people not affordable housing, we're housers. So we have a name, I didn't know it. But before this, you know, I went to undergrad and I looked at issues of like social justice and social change work and like how community nonprofits work. My master's degree is actually in nonprofit management, where it's like, everyone's like, what is that? How many like, you worked in a nonprofit? Everyone's like, so you don't get paid? You're a volunteer? You're like, that's not what I do, right? So my master's degree is in nonprofit management, which is basically like a public admin or an MBA, but specifically focused on nonprofits. Again, people are like, well, you get a degree? And they're like, but you do housing. So I will live in a world full of like planners, community planners, and my background, I used to work in public health and HIV/AIDS prevention and treatment. I was managed volunteer programs. I worked really closely with United Way, my volunteer centers. I also worked connecting local growers to and selling and helping managing a CSA where folks have access to really affordable, quality, organic, local produce, and worked with local farmers so that they could access that. So I did a bunch around food access. I've done all sorts of random stuff with plenty of stints in between at restaurants and bars because working at nonprofits, I couldn't always rant on just that. So somehow I landed in community engagement around working with residents of affordable housing and other groups. And that led me into affordable housing advocacy overall. And now I work at the California Coalition for Rural Housing, and we're a statewide nonprofit. We're an advocacy, we're the oldest affordable housing advocacy organization in the nation. So there have been other coalitions that have been around, come together, come back together. We've been the longest lasting, and we were born out of the San Joaquin Valley, actually. And our membership is predominantly nonprofit affordable housing developers and other advocates who are looking at affordable housing development in rural communities, in farm worker communities, and American Indian tribal communities. So we have folks across the state, our home base, and a lot of the folks we work with are in the San Joaquin Valley. I personally work in Sacramento. I grew up outside Mariposa, outside in Merced, where my 209 people. I saw your phone number on my 209, I was like, yeah. We work statewide. Some of our developers also develop in urban areas. So we have some folks who develop in the Bay Area, we have folks who develop in San Diego, we have folks who develop in the heart of Fresno, and we have folks who are building out in the middle of kind of quote-unquote nowhere, which is where a lot of our work is. In addition to the advocacy work we do at the federal and state level, we do direct programs and technical assistance. So I will go in and work with a city as they put together their plan for affordable housing. We will help do community engagement around the housing element. We also do a lot of research. We do age-friendly banking as well and home buyer savings accounts. We also do, like I said, community engagement. We work with the Residents United Network, which is a statewide network of affordable housing residents. So there's only 5 of us on staff. So all of the things I just said we do probably look a lot like your teams, where you're like, I work in nonprofits and I do 15 different things, and none of it was in my job description. And that's how I got to housing. And so when I talk about affordable housing, I'm really looking at sustainable, holistic community development. We look at it as a part of overall anti-poverty strategies. and I bring this kind of holistic view to what I do. I am not a wonky city planner or someone who went in for planning and is going to come out and talk to you about really great architecture. Like that is, I love it, but that is not who I am, and I do not have that. And I can explain tax credits and like affordable housing financing, but I am not the one who's going to get really wonky on that. I'm much more about that holistic community development.
That's great. So you mentioned you have experience working in public health, experience working around justice issues.
Yes.
You talked a little bit about the balance or the intersection of looking at housing, about balancing a lens of like health components or health outcomes with a justice purview as well.
Yeah. And real quick, when I talk about affordable housing, I do mean to one extent like housing that everyone has access to, everyone has affordable housing. But I specifically am talking about subsidized housing, right? And when that's where they feel like you're going to build market rate. How, like if you build an apartment, right? The way you make the money back from building that apartment is in rent or in selling the unit. And with affordable housing, it's more expensive to build affordable housing than it is to build market rate housing because there's so many other regulations. You need to make sure it's really quality housing, which is what we want. It needs to last for over 55 years because any affordable housing built in the state of California has to be affordable for 55 years. And so in a market rate unit, I can put together a kind of a sloppy unit, put a pretty fancy sink on it, and it's like some shiny countertops, and I can charge more. And I can put a not so great unit in a really high income area or a really hot market and get a lot out of that not great unit. The price it's going to cost to build my affordable housing unit is going to be more expensive, and it's going to have to be expensive no matter where I put it. And I'm never going to make that back on rent. Right? The people who are renting it are never going to pay full rent. Instead, that subsidy has to come from somewhere, and that's federal programs, it's state programs, or it's local programs. Some of it is tax dollars and tax-driven. A lot more of it, though, is coming from different kinds of components. And so when I talk about affordable housing, I tend to mean subsidized housing, and I tend to mean rental housing, not rental. But a lot of our partners do develop affordable home ownership models as well. And when you ask me kind of this idea of like, in the story, like for me, looking at affordable housing and for the folks who are housers like me, affordable housing is really, and how it relates to social justice and how it relates to public health is really just how you explain what affordable housing is. Because if you explain the need for affordable housing and how we got into California's terrible housing crisis, that's really a story of historic injustice, right? That's the story of redlining, it's a story of predatory lending and subprime mortgages and the foreclosure crisis. It's the story of white flight and now gentrification and displacement. So how we got to our housing crisis is really a story of social injustice. And when we talk about the impact or the outcome or the benefit of affordable housing, that's really just the story of health outcomes and community and individual health outcomes. Because we know that investing in affordable housing is cheaper and uses less, taking tax dollars to build affordable housing is more cost effective than taking those same tax dollars and trying to pay for the other end for that person who's homeless and doesn't have access to health care, or that person who's homeless and has to go to the emergency room, or for all of the other things that happen when we have to put them into shelters or find other resources, or the food service that has to happen when you can't afford the house you live in. And so we know that by investing in affordable housing, you're actually making the most cost-effective investment in health outcomes. And quality housing means you're going to get sick less, right? You have better materials, you're not going to have mold, you're going to have better access to drinking water, you're going to get sick less. Affordable housing means you're going to have more money available to spend on healthcare and access to healthy food. You're not going to have to choose between paying the rent or getting medicine for my sick child. And when we talk about like healthy housing and healthy communities, we mean affordable housing that's built along public transportation, complete streets, safe walkable sidewalks, pathways, where people can, with parks, right, and street lights and lights in the park, not just the park, but the lights that keep the park going, right? And that's affordable housing and healthy community development, where people live healthy, active lives free of pollution. And when we talk about really this holistic, sustainable kind of a community, and where affordable housing is kind of the investment, the catalyst for this, it's affordable housing that's located near not just these public transportation, but it's located next to healthcare, it's located next to quality schools and quality jobs. And that's really this vision, this idea of what, when we talk about affordable housing, we're talking about righting those social injustices and these kind of community health outcomes.
that makes a lot of sense. I think probably resonates with a lot of people's work here. And I'm curious, so you say you're a team of 5. Part of the theme around, I guess, part of us coming together is thinking about partnerships. I'm curious about, for your small team, what are the roles of partnerships in terms of doing the work that you do and engaging other organizations in supporting sort of this process, but also we talk about community engagement. How do you engage community members as partners in that as well?
I'm going to use one really specific example, and then we can talk more generally. And also, I talk a lot, I talk really fast. If you guys want to join in, I know it's after lunch, and you guys are like kind of nodding off, so tell me if I'm like on. You gotta give me something here, guys. So you can just like smile or nod, so I know if you're not bored, and or if you are bored, then just like give me a sign, I'll change it up. But the one specific example, right? This is one specific development. It was actually in Lindsay, out in Tulare County. We had our nonprofit that's going in to develop the housing, but they need to demonstrate support for that housing development. And in this community, there was a school down the street, and there was already an existing neighborhood, but there was nothing in between, right? So people, the neighborhood that goes to the school, the families, the students, they're pushing their strollers and they're walking every day along the dirt shoulder of the highway where the cars are going by at 70 miles an hour. Raise your hand, we all work and live in the valley, we've all seen this, right? And so the community made it really clear when the developer went in to say, like, what can we do, how can we develop this? They said, we need a sidewalk, there's nothing here. And so they said, okay, well, we're going to not only develop this affordable housing, community, this complex, but we're going to include the sidewalk that connects the school to the neighborhood. And we're going to put in traffic calming measures on the street. And those community members, those are people who will never live in that affordable housing complex. They already have housing. But those community members all wrote letters of support. And they wrote them in different languages. They hand wrote letters in whatever language they could, explaining why that sidewalk connected to that affordable housing community was so important to their school. And that stack of letters made its way to the state when they tried to get that state resource, that state funding program. And those people who went through that application said, this is the program we need to, this is the project we need to fund. And when they tried to go to city council, there was no resistance from city council. You can't argue with a stack of letters from parents and students saying, we need a sidewalk and you didn't build it and this developer wants to come in and do it instead. No, who's gonna say no to that? And that's one really specific example of the kinds of levels of partnership it might take in any given community to do this. In a broader sense, there's federal policy, there's state policy, right? We're talking about small staffs who are all doing so many different things. You can't do any of this without each other. We were engaged, I remember one of the reasons Cultiva La Salud and CCRH were working together was because they wanted to do some community engagement around a housing element. I don't know if any of you are familiar with housing elements, they're these really boring documents that are really important and no one pays attention to them. And so I was like, okay, I can help get the community engagement. I was working with the city to get the community engagement, but no one's gonna show up for my boring meeting. But Cultiva La Salud already had community members who cared about things like safe walkways and biking, and they already cared about their community. They were already coming together. So we were able to bring that housing element process to Cultiva La Salud and their community members, and we were able to explain how this was all connected. And that's how we got really meaningful community feedback and engagement. It's not necessarily one organization having everything and knowing everything. It's being or having the resources to do it. I don't live in Orange Cove. That is 3 hours for me. There's no way I'm gonna inspire residents of Orange Cove to come to my meeting. That's not, and that shouldn't be my job. Why should I come in and try to step on the toes of people who've been there for a lot longer? So we really need to rely on those people who are on the ground that way.
Yeah, does that resonate with folks in the room? Yeah. Do folks have similar examples or kind of?
Yeah, tell me something.
Or yeah, you guys wanted to add?
People up here tell me things. Do you have community members you're working with directly, or do you have community partners who work with community members? Raise your hand if you're I work with residents directly. Right? And then how many of you are I work with community organizations that work directly with residents? Or how many of you say, I don't, but my staff member, my coworker is on the front lines talking to community members every day? All you 2-on-1 folks, that's y'all. Okay, so understanding what are your resources and who are the people in your community. All of you guys who have your actual resident groups, you are gold to the rest of us. We're oh my gosh, you have people. Answer your phone call. They're your best friends. Find those people, right? If you're not, you already go to them, they already your resource. You already have that group. was like, we want to know what residents think about this. And you like call your friend at the other organization, you're like, so you guys had a meeting 2 weeks ago, I know we talked about this. Can you tell me something? Like, not yes?
I think we absolutely do, and it's important not to only use our community partners when we do need to engage the community, but also be present. So I can't directly work with residents because my restrictions with public health, but I do go to their meetings, they see my face, they know who I am. So when I do tap to them, they know who I am and why I'm asking for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that has to go both ways. We have to get something out of seeing you show up and then going to you, and then you also know from a programmatic standpoint it helps your work.
Exactly, and then one of our grants is Partnerships to Improve Community Health, which in its title says it all, to partner with our community and our community partners to make an improvement in Merced County.
So one of the things that I wanted to highlight, because unfortunately the executive director of Merced County Food Bank isn't there, but I'm on the board of directors for that group. So one of the things that we looked at when we were restructuring the Merced County Food Bank is to get people, stakeholders around the table and on the board that could actually assist us in getting more fruits and vegetables into the food bank, who could help us with transportation to other locations, who are actually farmers, who actually know about the Farm Bureau, people who work for large food corporations that may be able to help us. So it's really about building your group that you're going to be working with. And then building a group that doesn't necessarily duplicate services. It's, you have, I mean, you can't just have a bunch of farmers on the board. So we have a farmer, we have a lawyer, we have a CPA, we have somebody from McLean, which is a food distributor, we have somebody from Foster Farms, we have, so you have also, you have public health, now we have human services agency that are on the board. So people who are connected to the community, people who are connected to businesses, people who are connected to the farming community, so that you can bring all of those different industries together in order to help alleviate food insecurity. Because honestly, and I tell people all the time, the food bank is your food net. When people are in need of something, emergency pantries come in, they get food, they go out, and it goes directly to your community. People get food distributions, we get things from the USDA. And so building up that group that's around the table that actually can bring other resources in, it's huge. It's absolutely huge. So even though I'm not directly there, we try to get as many people around the table as possible.
Yeah, and it's that meaningful engagement, right? You
Yeah.
know, the right people, and I think, one of the things I learned one time, someone said, collaboration only works if everyone there can only get what they need from being there, right? So if one person can get what they need and they don't need the collaboration for it, they're not going to be as invested in it, and they shouldn't be. And if you need something from someone else, but you're not offering anything they need, then that's a disservice. So it's that meaningful community engagement, those meaningful partnerships, those really strategic understanding. And so that's why a partnership with POPEOPLE is important, because these were community members who already cared about how their community was developing. They might not know what a housing element is, and they might not care about a housing element, but when you can explain what a housing element's impact is, then they have something to contribute. And beyond that, they have an expertise, right? They have an expertise we couldn't get someplace else, and that's why I needed them. So it's that meaningful, strategic partnership and engagement, for sure. Yeah.
I have a question. How does the community gather the funding to develop affordable housing?
Yeah, I can talk to you for hours about this later, but so there's different kinds of housing, there's different funding programs that fund affordable housing or other elements of community development. So there's federal funds, which is why what's happening at the federal level right now is really scary. There are state funding sources, and some of those are like loans, and some of those are just straight up grant programs. Some of them are targeted for specific populations, so you can use this funding for formerly homeless, or only for families, or for veterans. We have what's called the Low-Income Housing Tax Credit Program, which is a federal program, and we have a matching state program, which is where investors give money up front to develop housing, and then in exchange for that, they get a tax deduction during the lifespan of the project. And so it's a public, but that's an issue right now because it's based on tax incentive. And so a lot of corporations and big investors aren't really concerned that they're going to have to pay a whole lot of taxes anytime soon. so they're not as interested in purchasing those tax credits. And then with all of those federal and state programs, and even with the tax credits, you have to apply. You come up with this really strong project, and you jump through all the different hoops that each program sets. You basically say, I can demonstrate why this program fits your program, like why my project fits your program. It's done all of these things, and then it competes against other projects, and it gets scored, and then it gets awarded funding. And any one project will have over anywhere from 8 to 10 to 15 funding sources to make that happen. And areas like the Bay Area have a lot more local funding because they have different tax programs, they have ballot initiatives they pass, they might have put in some really progressive housing policies that incur housing trust funds, so they have some local dollars that they can spend a little differently. Or they're a smaller region, so they can make some partnered investments in transportation and housing. So it's a lot harder for rural communities across the state. It's a lot harder for San Joaquin Valley communities to develop the housing that we see in some of these other areas because we don't have the same local support and local financing measures in place to help support it. Is that too long? Is that too much? I went a little wonky. I got a little wonky on you.
I'm curious, so the example you gave about partnerships focused on policy change that you were able to create. And so we talk about like people-powered change. The change obviously implies that we're seeking to bring people together so we can actually affect some kind of change, some kind of outcome. And so when it comes to local or state or federal leveraging points where, you know, groups like ours, whether it's our respective organizations or our collective group together, can really put pressure so we can start to affect some change or to make sort of access to affordable housing or any of those kind of surrounding poverty reduction measures a little bit more accessible. What do you see as being those kind of leveraging points, be it on, you know, big key policy or even if it's just sort of softer education advocacy?
Yeah, so I'm not going to get wonky on this one because there are tons of policies happening at the federal, at the state, and at the local level. There are programs, right? Funding programs. Right now, Cap and Trade, the Affordable Housing Sustainable Communities Program. Right now, they've released their guidelines, which are basically how do you compete for this money. And I am like up to my eyeballs in guidelines saying this is how this requirement is going to not work in our community and why we need to change it so it's more equitable. So there are plenty of things like that happening. There are plenty of local and regional planning processes happening. I'm not going to bore you with all that. If you want to know about it, let me know. I'll connect you. But in bigger kind of thing to think about, you know, at the federal level, things are really scary. At the state level, we have a really strict state budget. We have a housing crisis like we've never seen. It's also really scary. There are so many things happening at the regional and local level. There are so many meetings and campaigns and initiatives. It's like really overwhelming. I imagine your inbox looks like a lot like mine. You're like, I just can't get to all of them. And so part of that is really scary, but it's also really, that's the point we can leverage and that's the opportunity. People are paying attention to things like this in a way that they haven't been. The housing crisis and what it means for our communities is affecting, people are listening and paying attention in ways that they haven't been before. There are so many ways to get involved. I think we can use that momentum to our advantage. And I think the kind of key takeaway I would get from all of this and trying to leverage that energy is that no one can do everything, but everyone can do something. So making sure, one, when we are providing opportunities for our constituents and our partners and our community members to engage with us, that we're offering ways to engage at different levels. Not everyone can be our champion or go to all of your meetings, but there has to be some way that they can engage. But also to kind of take that in for ourselves, we can't always be everywhere, so how can we leverage our partnerships when we're going to do a convening? How can we make sure that if we have different organizations looking at the same issue, how can we have one convening? We can't go to any more meetings, right? There's like no more meetings, no more time for phone calls. So how can we bring those together, especially with limited resources, whether those limited resources are funds available to put together our event, or if it's just our time and our energy. And so really, how do we take this moment where everyone's really quote unquote woke? You know, everyone is like paying attention and they're like, I get it, what do I do? And how do we say, okay, there's so many things happening, how can we come together and show our strength and solidarity and build that partnership? So opportunities like this where everyone's in the same room talking about it is so important.
Another question.
Gosh, please.
Do you guys work with the Housing Authority and the Section 8 voucher system? Do you have any insight as to why that wait list is so long?
Yeah, so that's a federal issue where the federal government has decided how much money they were going to pay for these vouchers or for Section 8. And Section 8 works in two ways. One is I have a voucher as an individual and I can go take it and I find a landlord and I give them my voucher and I can live anywhere I want as long as they take it. And then it also is associated with an affordable housing development. So I'm going to get a certain number of those vouchers for my affordable housing, and so that's one of the funding sources. That's a federal issue. Right now, the wait list in California for housing vouchers is almost 10 years. And if you don't find like a landlord who will take your voucher, you can lose your voucher and start on the waiting list again. That's a state and a federal issue, and it's a state and a federal funding program problem. We also have landlords who refuse to rent to folks like that. Voucher systems aren't a solution, they're not to fix it. It's only one of many tools we have in creating these kind of sustainable communities. And so that's where getting your partners together to talk about housing and how you can advocate for housing investment. There's a lot more that has to do with your land use and your zoning in your community, or the capacity of your city staff managers to apply for an application. There's a lot more that has to do with how much they're selling the land in your community for than ever has to do with federal government deciding about vouchers. There's a lot more that you in your positions and you and your organizations can do at a local level to facilitate more affordable housing development in your own community than there is trying to argue for vouchers at the state level. Because in a lot of communities, you can get a voucher and you don't have enough housing units. There's just no rental units available at all. So you can have vouchers, but if you don't have housing, then it doesn't work. That was a little bit of a sidetrack. I try to bring it on back to this, like, let's get together and do it.
That's great. Are there other related to perhaps housing or any other sort of adjacent poverty reduction issues, be it local or state or federal campaigns that people are working on or are aware of that you feel could be beneficial for us to kind of really think about?
I have two. I'm not sure my first one. So I'm thinking about like building credit, right? And so like homeowner education, right? I think one part of the conversation is also like how do we get folks that are in like this affordable housing process, right? I think there's these stigmas to it too, like, and I think that we need help. And so I'm wondering if there's like opportunities like in there to, I guess, not just be informed, but like I'm thinking like, for example, like you know, growing up, my parents kind of had like this informal bank, right, where like they had friends, they call them tandas, right?
Yeah.
Where they kind of amongst their friends, they kind of loan each other like $500 next month. A person did this, right? And so I'm familiar with an organization, a bank, I think in San Francisco called like the Mission Lending Credit or something, where they kind of help folks build credit and try to link it back into like housing, right? And so I'm just wondering, I mean, do you see a benefit, a need more for these types of programs? Are they scarce? I mean, is the information about how available these are very...
So that's stuff that my organization advocates in and participates in. But a lot of our affordable housing developers also offer home ownership programs and training and financial education. A lot of affordable housing communities also have community rooms where they host workshops and trainings for other community members outside of just the residents to attend. So a lot of the same people who are advocating to build affordable housing are operating